it kind of fell in line with the whole cut down day thing. And so after they had a lot of footage, the episode was great. They had a lot from Bob Wischusen and Marty Lyons when it began. Hadn't really heard from them in detail like this about the impact of Aaron Rodgers and the feeling around the Jets, which is, the same that we all have and thinking this is a championship caliber team. They, after the game then, prior to when Saleh is talking about how, these next few days are just the worst because, the cuts have to come. The camera pans into the locker room and it moves away from Saleh. And I know it's not, but now given the fact that Bam Knight was cut, it's amazing how it's trying to pan over, and it does, to Rodgers, but right in the way of that is Bam Knight as they're talking about cuts coming. And I really don't believe that it was done on purpose. It's just the way the camera panned, and he happened to be right there in the middle. And you're thinking, wow, talk about foreshadowing of something to come. But it's more of the conversation of what these next couple of days are for the guys in that locker room. Like Saleh had this whole thing after the game Saturday night in the locker room saying, hey, make sure you talk to everybody because essentially, aside from the stars, no one knows who's going to be here next week. And we are a team and we were together. It's been a long summer and we did accomplish something. So, at least appreciate that. So take us through what those next couple of days are like for those guys on the bubble and for the coaches that have to make the decisions.
Yeah, it is. It's the best and worst of Hard Knocks when they show it because, you're trying to make a team and all of a sudden you think you got a shot, and the reality is that you probably didn't have a shot when they signed you. That they filled out a roster with a bunch of guys at the end of that roster that they're lucky if one or two of them are worthy of being on the 53-man roster. I mean, most teams, unless you're a new coach and a new GM going in like the Cardinals, pretty much know who their top 40 to 45 players are. Filling in those next 7, comes from the undrafted free agents, the late round draft picks, and somebody who may have caught your eye on special teams or has done something pretty spectacular in practice or has a real knack of returning kicks or something like that. And that's how they end up making a team. But the guys don't feel that way. They feel like they belong there because they've been around the team now for 6 months, most of them, and they all want to feel like they deserve to be there. And it's really, it's hard, man. I remember seeing guys leaving, crying because it meant so much to them to be a part of something and then all of a sudden have it taken away from them. So there's a real emotional portion there. And that's why you got to be careful. Like Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and, Quinnen Williams, they're all going to be there. CJ Mosley, they're all going to be there. Who's going to be there with them from this latter group of players that have been brought onto the team to see if they can make it? You don't really want to get too close with these guys because you're going to feel the sting and the emotion of it as well. So, like I said, the Jets knew pretty much what they were going to do. And the moment that they signed Dalvin Cook, we all sat here and said, okay, what's going to happen now to the running back room? And I thought Zonovan Knight in that, I think it was the Hall of Fame game, looked great. Looked like he was really running hard. He and Michael Carter were running hard. And they probably knew that and were aware that Dalvin was a possibility for the Jets. So they were trying to show themselves on film, much like Alan Lazard said. Show yourself on film because you never know where you may end up. And because the homies are all over the all over the league.
As he said.
So it's awful. It's awful for the coaches. It's awful for the general manager. It's awful for the scouts because the scouts are the ones that are recommending these players get an opportunity. Yep. So it's an emotional time, and it really does suck.
And so with that, and it does, it's awful for the players, awful for the coaches that have to do it. But once you can move past this, now you've got your roster set. And now we really start looking ahead to next week. And I know you guys obviously will be wall-to-wall on this when you come back on Tuesday with the opener Thursday and then Sunday night and Monday night. How about the fact, though, that you've got, both teams, as we've known for months now, starting in prime time. And you've got Daniel Jones off this fresh new contract, not only in prime time, but at home, division game, the hated Cowboys. And in a spot where, A, they haven't played well against the Cowboys in terms of wins and losses, and B, he hasn't been good on Sunday night and Monday night and Thursday night football.
No, he's not. He's 1-9 in those games, and that's why all of this changes now. And I would just say, for me, the way I look at Daniel Jones is that this is a fresh start for him. This is really, truly now his first year, I believe, where they went out and got players to put around him. They gave him the contract, and he proved his worth last year. And the way that he proved his worth last year was physically a demanding way he proved himself. Number one, he stopped the interceptions. And number two, he ran the ball effectively. And number three, he was out there every single game. And I think the players respect him. I know the coaches and the ownership respect him. But, now it's a different story. Now that 1-9 primetime record that Kirk Cousins has always got to fight, it seems like. And the fact that they haven't beaten the Cowboys,
very often.
It was 11 out of the last 12.
I think it's 11 of 12, yeah.
Yeah, so now all of that stuff, now is the time where he has to change that. He's got to change that narrative. He's got to change the trajectory of the team because of the contract that he signed. If you told me he was making $5 million, I'd have a completely different set of perspective on this. But the fact that they have given him $41 million this year, now this is now the start really of his career in my eyes.
All right, so now take me through his eyes. Walking in now as opposed with the contract as opposed to last year, and also how the team, I don't mean the franchise, I mean the players view him this year from last year.
They love him just like the players loved Eli. He's not a magnetic personality off the field, but inside that building, he is the unquestioned leader, and they believe they can win with him. That's the most important thing. You see the Jet players, what has happened when Aaron Rodgers got there. Mm-hmm. There are no questions. We know we can win, and Jeff Ulbrich said it in week 1 of Hard Knocks. That's our quarter. We 8 is our quarterback, guys. We're going to win games because of him. So we got to do our job, and that's kind of the way that I think that Daniel Jones now is being looked at within the building. There's no more questions of whether or not we can win with Daniel Jones. He's already proven that. And he proved that maybe against a poor defense against Minnesota, say what you want to say, but that game probably got him an extra $10 million a year by beating them on the road in Minnesota.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple of names. You're going to tell me the relevance to these names.
Okay.
And they all have one thing. There's a lot of things, but the one specific thing in common. I'm going to leave out the names Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and I'll leave Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Hurts out of the conversation.
Okay. Okay.
We leave them out of the conversation. Here's what I'm going to give you. You ready for this?
And what kind of answer do you want from me?
I want the first thing that pops into your head why I'm asking you about these players in relation to Daniel Jones.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And not that.
I think you're probably if the way I look at this, you're probably looking at some goofy quarterback ranking where certain guys are ahead of Daniel Jones and Daniel Jones is on the back end of it.
Close.
Okay.
So here are these names I'm going to give you. Tua, Fields, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy. I'll stop there. Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford. Now, these aren't quarterback rankings. Those are the MVP odds. All of those guys, like Vegas, I'm blown away by this number. Vegas has Daniel Jones. Now, it obviously fluctuates a little bit, but Vegas has Daniel Jones as high as plus 7,500 to win the MVP with those other names, like well ahead of him. Like Derek Carr plus 3,600, Daniel Jones plus 7,500.
I just remember now that Daniel Jones only threw 15 touchdown passes last year. And when we are voting for, the MVP of the league, you have to do something really spectacular to become that MVP in terms of whether it be touchdown passes or, in the case of some of these other quarterbacks like Daniel Jones, maybe run for 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Pretty spectacular, if you ask me.
Well,
sure.
he had a good year last year, but that's not the quarterback is high completion percentage, throwing for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Jordan Love hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I understand that.
And he's at plus 35, and I think it's insulting. I know what you're saying, but I disagree with it. To me, that's highly insulting.
Yeah, I saw a quarterback ranking list, and I think Daniel Jones was either 18th or 19th on that list.
Well, based on this, that's about where he falls.
Which is amazing to me because I do think he is a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be, I don't think I think this year he will throw at least 25 to 30 touchdown passes. He will double his touchdown pass he'll outpace himself from last year. He won't run for as many yards, and he'll probably throw for over 4,000 yards.
Do you think because of the contract they don't allow him to run as much as he did last year in fear of injury?
No, I think the group of players that they brought in here to help him, their offensive line is going to be good. They're going to be able to run the ball with Saquon Barkley. There's going to be a lot of play action pass because of the ability for him to move. And I think now he's ready to go and take off. This is his takeoff season. And taking off means, over 4,000 yards passing, 67% completion, and 25 to 32 touchdown passes. And you got to keep the interceptions. You'd like to keep them single digit. If you could do that, that would be even better. And he did that last year.
Right.
He was good that.
His success was not turning the ball over last year. Absolutely.
Right. But the thing about it was, remember, he didn't have as many attempts. But this year he's going to have more attempts. They're going to throw the ball more. He's going to be more comfortable in this offense.
But more skill players too around him, like you say.
Right. So those numbers need now. This is, like I said, this is his takeoff season, and he found himself last year. And he won a playoff game up in Minnesota, and did it, with a suspect offense when it came to personnel in terms of skill position players. That kind of changes now this year. And Joe Shane has taken a page out of Brandon Beane's book up in Buffalo. We got this young quarterback. He can do multiple things on the field. Now we got to get him help, and we got to tell him, we want you to run, but we don't want you to run nearly as much as you did last year.
All right, real quick before we break. Don't think, just react. Over or under catches for Darren Waller. Give me a number. Because I think he is going to be the primary target.
I would say, well, he and Saquon. If he stays healthy, again,
I'm assuming health. Assuming health.
Plays 17 games. I'll give you an over-under of 70.
That's fine. I was going to say 75.
Right.
If Darren Waller has 75 catches this year,
there's success.
And Saquon Barkley is healthy, then this team's winning a lot of games.
Yeah, they should. Their offense should be one of the reasons why. And Wink Martindale will be manufacturing pass rush with Isaiah Simmons and everybody else and moving guys around, and they're going to be a pain in the ass to play against just because of configuration things that they're going to present to opposing teams. Thanks so much for watching the video.
Please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when we're dropping new content.